Hello, Hero of Collectors here. How's it going, everybody? Hope y'all are doing fantastic, and welcome into a quick fire review. Today, we're going to take a quick look at X-cutioner, Heroes Return Iron Man, the 2023 retro-carded Spider-Man Wave Miles Morales, and Crossfire. These quick fire reviews are going to be very simple. I'm going to just show you the pictures that I took of these figures, give you my thoughts. There will be no articulation segment, no accessories shown off, just pictures, my thoughts, and rating the figure. So let's waste no more time and get into it. Alright, we're going to start this off with the Heroes Return Iron Man. This is kind of what I was expecting. He is built on previous Iron Man bodies that we have gotten a few times, so limb-wise, I knew what I was getting into. The few new bits are nice and add a nice variety to our comic book Iron Man displays or armories. But I will say that this is not the most exciting armor to have received. I know people that grew up in the 90s with the Heroes Return stories may be more inclined to enjoy this armor. It's kind of the stepping stone to the armor I enjoy a lot more, like my favorite Iron Man armors. So I don't have a serious connection to this look, but it is still a decent figure. It's very dynamic. You can pose him around and it looks pretty good. The gold, the red, it works in these shades. So it's not a bad figure to pick up, in my opinion. It's just not my ideal Iron Man armor. Giving him a rating, I would say 7 out of 10, maybe 6.5. If you don't like pins, that's probably going to bring it down for you. I don't personally care, but it's not the most exciting figure, but still a decent figure as a baseline. Next up, we have the retro, quote-unquote, Miles figure. This, I believe, is his 10th anniversary sweatshirt suit that was done in the comics. And as an interesting look as it is, it did not translate well into figure form. The neck/head articulation doesn't have a lot of range looking up or down. It's got some tilting, which is nice, but if you have a Spider-Man character, it needs to look up and down really well to get those swinging poses or those crouch down poses, and it just does not have that range. And then the torso articulation is just really bad. You can't get much crunch, and what little you can get doesn't benefit as much as you would hope. So while I was able to get a few photos of him being more dynamic and looking decent, the experience trying to pose him and the how creative I had to get to make him look as good as I think he does in the photos, it doesn't seem worth the struggle that it took. So while the legs and the arms are decent, I just think the torso and neck needed more range, whether if that meant, doing a diaphragm cut lower on the body or something. I don't know what it would have taken, but I'm sure Hasbro could have figured it out. They've done amazing figures with overlays before. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to give this figure a 4 out of 10. He's got a lot of problems. If you like the costume, it may be good just to have him on the shelf, but this is not the best Miles you could find out there. It's probably the bottom of the list in terms of Miles figures. Moving right along, we're on to X-cutioner. I initially was not even going to buy this figure. I had no interest because I had no idea who he was. Then I watched X-Men 97, and while he wasn't in it very much, and he wasn't a good character per se, I liked him as a villain. So that motivated me to then pick him up, and I'm glad I did. It's actually a surprisingly good figure. You can get a lot of range with him, especially if you equip the weapons in his hands. Pose him around with another figure. It looks pretty dang good, and the robes and whatnot can get out of the way. He's got some rubbery overlays that you can work with. It's not impossible to get some good posing out of him. So I was quite surprised. The only poor articulation is the head movement. You can't get him looking down or up super well, so that's probably the biggest articulation slight I have. All the accessories are great. I love all the weapons he has. Maybe some extra hands would have been great, but I'm not seriously asking for those. They're just like, it would have been nice. So for a figure that I initially wasn't even going to buy, I was very surprised when I wanted to give him a 7.5 out of 10. It's not a perfect release by far, articulation wise. It's not perfect, but you can still get a lot of fun looks out of this guy, especially if you play with angles and whatnot. Have another figure for him to beat up. It's quite a fun figure, and I was taken aback by that, but very happy that I did get him in the end. And then last but certainly not least, we have Crossfire. This is a decent representation of Crossfire overall. I have no serious complaints about the figure other than my poor paint app mishap on his torso. But for whatever reason, he just doesn't have that exciting wow factor, if that makes sense. Like, I'm very happy to have this character represented for my Marvel villains, but in terms of an action figure that I want to sit and pose around outside of taking photos, which I use that as kind of a metric of, ooh, I actually want to play with this outside of posing and doing stuff for the channel, that's a good sign. I didn't have that feeling with Crossfire at all, so that wow factor, that exciting, oh, I've got a cool new figure, it just wasn't there for him. So I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Again, still a decent representation of the character design and character himself, but for me, just is missing something, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know if Hasbro could have done anything differently, but that figure is just, I don't know. It's really hard to describe. It's just not there for me. Well, that was my quick fire review on these 4 figures. Let me know your thoughts on these figures down in the comments section below. Also, make sure you like and are subscribed, and I will talk to you all in another video, another post, another time.